Welcome back to the morning show on JTV. Our show today is brought to you by the Dirty Bird in downtown Jackson. A great place to gather for the holidays and over 40 beers on tap. Our show today is also brought to you by the Center for Family Health, and you may be able to take advantage of some health insurance that you didn't know if you could qualify for. You could qualify for free or reduced cost health coverage. Call 517-748-5500. The Center for Family Health has been opening the door to healthcare for all for more than 30 years.
Our first guests on the show today are the founders of the Jackson Healing Clinic, the CEO, David Goolsby, and Chief Clinical Officer, Heather Goolsby. Welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having us.
Healing.
So that's interesting because Bart can't hear. You normally can say that.
I can hear, thanks to community hearing.
That is right. You can hear that. So let's talk about your business. This is a new business. I mean, talk about how you guys got started. The pandemic had something to do with this.
Yeah, it did. So we're still fairly new. I want to say August of 2020 was the first official filing for the LLC. We were both working jobs that the pandemic affected negatively. Mm-hmm. I think her company closed right around the start of the pandemic. Mine, I was opening ABA therapy clinics for children, and the pandemic hit, nobody comes to these. Right. A lot of our offices were closed immediately. Heather was the
I was the clinical supervisor over at Star Commonwealth in Albion. And we also closed July of 2020.
Yeah, it's amazing how kind of the world was upended. Yeah. But it ended up being kind of a large blessing for you guys.
Absolutely.
And things have gone really well for you along the way, including an article in Crain's Detroit as part of an enterprise group feature. Talk about being connected with the community, connected with the enterprise group, and how that's allowed you guys to grow.
Okay, so yeah, we when we started the business, we kind of knew the need was there, and I think the pandemic, how it helped us is it reduced the stigma for mental health. So a lot of people were able to talk about mental health. Access was, a huge topic, and their lack thereof was a huge subject matter. So we kind of started the business with just telehealth only. I kind of told my wife, if I can get people to call, will you see these clients? And it started, and the phone started ringing. The next thing you know, we kind of blew up. Well, initially when we started, we were like, we're going to need a building for face-to-face. Telehealth is fine. It allows access to a lot more people, but there's still some people that would rather get out the house, sit down, talk to somebody face-to-face. So we were just speaking that into existence before we had ever even looked into buying a building. We were just like, hey, because of the pandemic, we're closed, but once restrictions relax, we'll be back open. We had no idea what that looked like, but we just knew it would happen eventually. And so we partnered with the EDC through the chamber. So we were members of the chamber. The chamber introduced us to the former executive at County National, John Waldron, is that his last name? Mm-hmm. So he kind of was like, well, this is what we can do to help you. Here's another place that would, be able to help out with some funds to get the first property. We met with them. They loved it. We've worked with them so well. They loved us so much that they were like, Cranes, we got somebody for you. And that's so, the rest is kind of history.
So healing, who are the clients, who are the patients of the healing clinic?
Yeah, so the patients are literally anyone who needs mental health services, from 3-year-old children to 99-year-old senior citizens. Mm-hmm. We really just service everybody, primarily in the Jackson community. That's where most of our clients come from. Mm-hmm. But because of telehealth, it's allowed us to expand statewide and in some instances nationwide. So really just reduce the like he was saying, you can get mental health services by just sitting at home in your car, whatever you need to do. Another thing too that we knew that Jackson needed was a private practice that took Medicaid and Medicare. Okay. So David worked really hard on credentialing us with all insurance companies, but particularly Medicaid and Medicare, so that we can serve everyone in the community equally.
How important is it when celebrities or pro athletes come out and talk about their struggle? We didn't grow up hearing about mental health in school. I think the first time I really kind of became aware of it was when Kevin Love came out saying he had panic attacks during a game, and you read these stories. Does that really help people relate?
It does, and it does in the fact that anyone, including professional athletes, that's willing to talk about a mental health struggle, there's someone that can relate. And that is, I mean, the pandemic put a boost on that because everybody was having, some sort of, if it was just from being cooped up, routines changed, school closed, people dying, there's so many different, polarizing topics that are on the air that kind of made it easier. But to hear somebody you look up to or somebody that you know, so it can be an athlete and it can also be your dad, like, hey, I've started having this conversation with my son, like, hey, it's okay, I have needed it, things that you would have I never heard my dad say or heard anyone say, 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Right,
so
I just said toughen up.
that was how it went.
It's interesting that you mentioned that too, because like he was saying, I was like our first therapist in our house in front of a computer, like, okay, we got a call, let's just see how this goes. Probably one of the second people who called, she said, I listened to Charlemagne the God on the radio station, and he said he recently got a therapist and was seeking mental health, and I thought, I really like him, and I can too. She's like, so I just picked up the phone and called you. And so, it's just really reducing the stigma and normalizing it for everybody. Everyone needs someone to talk to, needs to be validated in some way.
Yeah.
So when someone has a physical health problem, it's easy to say, hey, I think I sprained my ankle. How do you approach seeking help? What's the first step?
So pick up the phone and call, right? That's usually the easiest. Also, what we find, people Google, right? Just type in, whatever they need in Jackson, whether it's mental health help, physical help, they Google. We knew that when we were naming the clinic that putting the word Jackson in there was going to be important so that people felt welcome and that it would come up when they're kind of in a crisis and don't know what to do. Just put help in Jackson, mental health in Jackson, and then we could pop up phone numbers right there. We also have a website too where you can schedule an appointment right online for those people whose anxiety might be preventing them from picking up the phone and calling. They can just type.
And besides you two, what kind of a team do you have? Is it others that assist you with the therapy?
Oh, yes. So like probably within the second week of being open, I myself was seeing 54 people every single week. I was like locking myself in a room for 12 hours at a time. So I said, we're going to need some help here. So I started calling all of my friends who are mental health therapists and saying, can you help? Can you help? But right now we have 25 therapists on staff. All of them are licensed and certified, trained in multiple areas to specialize in trauma, depression, anxiety. And then we recently, actually this year, bought a second location. So we have 2 locations that are completely full. And now we're building another kind of level to open up at least space for 10 more people.
Wow. And you work with kids too?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have some therapists who are 0 to 3 mental infant health certified. So they work with parents of newborns and infants all the way to toddlers. And then we have lots of therapists who are trauma and play therapy credentialed, so they can work with those children 3 and up. So yeah, absolutely.
What would you say to someone who would be afraid to make that call and admit that they are having trouble?
Shoot us a text. A lot of people don't know that too. So we have a website where you can schedule an appointment. You can actually text our phone number and it'll come through to us and we could communicate that way. I know a lot of anxiety is a barrier for some people. Like, I don't want to talk to anyone, I'm having one. You can actually text our office phone number and someone will get right back to you. We can either continue the conversation via text or set up a time that we'll call you guys, call you back at a better time, whether it's your lunch break or something. So we feel like any way that you can think to get, to contact us, we are okay with that. Whether, we've had Facebook people, we've had people, hey, I don't want to call the office and let everyone know, but you're a friend of mine, can you get me in? And, it may feel like I'm doing something, but I want to do this for the entire community. So
What have you learned about Jackson serving this many people over the last couple of years?
Yeah, the need is so great in the community. Jackson has a lot of great stuff in the community, a lot of people who want to do well. And so I think that everybody needs mental health treatment. That's probably a biased opinion, but they are willing to engage in services. They want to do better. I think also too, from just networking, Jackson has a lot of caring people and a lot of caring professionals. We've seen that a lot.
Yeah, we take good care of ourselves here, don't we?
Yeah,
Each other,
exactly. Yeah.
All right, and so how do people get a hold of you? process?
So the office phone number is 734-219-3314. We have our website. We are www.jacksonhealingclinic.com. You can also text that phone number. We are on Facebook, LinkedIn, Psychology
Email.
Today, email, which is office@jacksonhealingclinic.com. If you know any of us personally on Facebook, reach out to us on there. However, whatever makes you feel most comfortable, we'll do our best to get to accommodate. So
Great to see you. Thank you for being here.
Yeah,
Thank you
we're
guys so
much
glad
for
to
having
be
us.
here.
Appreciate it.
The founders of Jackson Healing Clinic, David Goolsby and Heather Goolsby. More of the morning show after this.